Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fridays with Father. Father Gary here. Hope you had a wonderful celebration of Thanksgiving yesterday. I hope you were able to get together with family and friends. This weekend, we begin our journey through Advent. It's amazing to think that Advent is here. I'm very excited about these days and weeks ahead. You should have by now received in the mail from me a little letter and our Advent schedule for the liturgies coming up. I want to highlight some of those. Also, the letter referred to a little booklet that we hope will help you through this Advent season. These booklets are available at the church in the narthex, so as you come into church or leave over the next week or so, this weekend they will be available. So please take one, and I hope that helps you to pray your way through this Advent season. I really commend this to you. Barb just picks wonderful, wonderful resources for us. And Sister Janet Schaeffler is the author of this little booklet. And as I said in my cover letter to you, I find it so wonderful because it's so contemporary and really addresses some of what we've all been through these last months, and does it in that very hopeful, expectant way that is the Advent season. I want to highlight just a few of the liturgies coming up, and some special things that we're going to do. One of those is we're going to add some confession times for the Advent season. So on 3 Sundays of Advent, so starting a week from, not Sundays, but Saturdays, starting a week from this Saturday on December 4th, and then December 4th, 11th, and 18th, on those Saturdays, we will have confessions at 9 a.m. and go till about 10 a.m. So just some added confession times, if that is helpful to you. And then the regular times, which are Tuesday evenings at 5 p.m. and then Thursday mornings at 7:30 a.m. December 8th is a holy day of obligation, the feast, the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's a very special feast day. It's a special feast for us this year as well, because it's on that feast day that we really, in some ways, get back to some normalcy, if you want to put it that way, in our coming together as a community of faith to celebrate the Lord in the best way that we know how around the table of the Eucharist. As you know, during the pandemic, so starting in March of 2020, Archbishop Aitchen lifted the obligation that we all have to come together as a community of faith on Sundays and holy days of obligation to celebrate Eucharist. He lifted that obligation because we really wanted people to stay as safe as possible and did not want people to feel like they were sinning if they were not able to make it to Mass. So it was a way to really encourage people not to come back until it's safe. Well, the track record in the parishes in the Archdiocese of Seattle, and that includes us, is very good in keeping people safe during the pandemic. And so the Archbishop has reimposed that obligation, the obligation that we all have to come together as a community of faith to celebrate the Eucharist. So I hope you use this as an opportunity just to examine your own practice. And if you are still staying away because you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, perhaps you have somebody in your household who is particularly vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus, then you should continue to stay away and celebrate with us online. So this is not meant to put people who are at risk in a sense of feeling obligated to put yourself at greater risk. You're not asked to do that. But for those of us who perhaps have grown a bit comfortable simply watching Mass online and are doing other things out in the community, then I would say to all of us, then it's time to come back to Mass. It's time to gather as a community of faith. And so that obligation to celebrate Sundays and holy days begins again on December 8th, on that holy day of obligation. That day, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception on December 8th, will have masses at 7 a.m., 10 a.m. with the school community, and then 7 p.m. on that evening. And that 7 p.m. Mass will be a bilingual Mass as well. So very excited about, I know that we use the language of obligation, and that's true. I mean, it's a precept of the Church. But more importantly, I do think this is a step, again, as I said at the beginning, a step back into some normalcy for us, where the expectation is, yes, we're incomplete when we're not all gathered as a community of faith to celebrate the Eucharist. So really look forward to seeing you. And let me assure you, all the protocols that we are using here in our parish and throughout the Archdiocese have really mitigated the risk of coming to Mass and contracting the virus. So I hope you're able to join us for that. Also, this year, the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, December 12th, falls on the third Sunday of Advent. And so that third Sunday of Advent takes the place on December 12th. And so what the Church has encouraged and allowed us to do is to celebrate that feast day on December 11th, which we will do with a bilingual Mass at 7 p.m. So at 7 p.m. On December 11th, we will celebrate the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So again, I hope you can join us for that. Just a wonderful celebration, a wonderful feast of Our Lady and the impact that Our Lady of Guadalupe has had on the Americas. She is, John Paul II named her a long time ago, back in the 1980s, named her the Mother of the Americas. And so really hope that you can join us for that celebration on December 11th. Those are the immediate, and I'll talk to you more about other celebrations, Christmas schedule, which is in the schedule that you got in the mail. So talk more about that in the weeks to come. And finally, I just want to thank Kevin Minetti for the Fridays with Father that he did last week. Just did a marvelous job of introducing and sort of expanding that first conversation. If you remember, I introduced this a few weeks ago, just encouraging you to have some conversations, some serious conversations about faith. One of those, the first conversation, is what do you need prayer for? And Kevin walked us through a marvelous process of just demystifying what it is to respond to that. You know, if somebody says that I need prayer for this, well, Kevin walked us through just a very simple process for actually praying with and for that person right there. So if you didn't get a chance to see that version of Fridays with Father last week, I encourage you to take a look at that. The second of those conversations is a conversation in which we encourage you to share a bit of your spiritual journey. How did you get to where you are right now in your relationship with the Lord? You might even want to make that kind of a priority over these weeks of Advent, talking with family or friends or fellow parishioners about your spiritual journey. It's a way to draw us deeper. Just like that first conversation about what do you need prayer for, the second conversation about your own spiritual journey can draw us deeper into that relationship with Jesus, into our relationship as disciples of the Lord. And finally, that third conversation, and we'll talk more about this in a later version of Fridays with Father, but that third conversation is a conversation that says, how in my everyday life, in my vocation, whatever that may be, how do I advance the kingdom of God? Again, a wonderful Advent reflection there. So lots to do in these coming weeks of Advent, and just feeling so blessed to be your pastor as we enter into these wonderful, wonderful days of Advent. Well, that's it for this version of Fridays with Father. Lots of stuff in there, so you might want to go back and re-watch this a couple of times to get all of that information that we've shared with you today. Look forward to seeing you this Sunday for the celebration of the first Sunday of Advent, the 9 a.m. Mass live streamed and in person, the 11:30 a.m. Mass in Spanish, also live streamed and in person, and then the 5 p.m. Sunday night Mass. Have a great weekend. God bless.